have to live stream so that everyone can participate and continue. Continue as Olufolake IKE. I sent a video called One Man Army. It's really very, very challenging to do stuff alone by yourself. You're doing your videos, but everyone needs to learn how to do it. Videos, but everyone needs to learn how to do it. Videos. All right. That is the YouTube video. You have to learn. If you always depend on others to help you do stuff, it's going to kind of not make you understand what people go through when they're explaining certain things to you. So when people tell me what they do, I'm able to quickly kind of connect to them because I know what it feels like, to be by yourself and to do certain things. If you always have people doing things for you, you really may not understand. The topic for today, which is empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. Essentially, feeling with them instead of feeling for them. That is, you're not sympathizing. You are actually stepping into their shoes and feeling exactly what they feel. Some time ago, somebody asked me a question. As an African, how do you have empathy? Because most Africans grew up in a household that has zero tolerance for nonsense. And so whenever people are saying, this happened to me, we are scanning our minds and thinking, why did that happen to them? I mean, why didn't they do this? And why didn't they do that? I mean, it's their fault. That wouldn't have happened if they had, taken some precautions. We'll never understand it if we are constantly judging people. And so today, we're talking empathy, and I have Pastor Doka here. Margaret is also here on Zoom. And so I will just be saying and repeating what they're saying, since not everybody is on Zoom. And so, Pastor Doka, what do you think empathy is?
Just like you said, good evening, everyone. So it's good to be here. So like you said, empathy is the ability to not just feel, but also understand what people go through. People think it's just about feeling, or it goes beyond just feeling. You have to first of all understand it. So you have the ability to understand, feel.
So when you say understand, what do you mean by understanding? Because a lot of people will say something like, oh, I understand what you're going through. Recently, I was talking to a gentleman who just lost his wife. And he told me that someone said something that really rubbed him, the wrong way, that the person came and said, I understand what you're feeling. He just lost his wife. And the person that was saying, I understand how you're feeling, still has his own wife. And he looked at the person and said, what do you mean by you understand? The person said, because I felt so terrible when I lost my best friend last year. How can you possibly understand the loss of a partner when you either don't have one or you've never experienced that kind of loss? Because empathy says you have to understand. So how do you understand that person's feelings when you've never experienced it?
Okay, it's not like you're totally, or like the understanding, it's bringing yourself to resonate with the thoughts and the belief that is behind what the person is going through. So you're feeling hurt, you lost your loved one, your friend, or your relative, you're feeling hurt. The thoughts of feeling hurt is what the person understands. The person is not understanding the extent of the pain. Is that you have a right to be hurt. You have a right to feel that pain. I believe that this pain you're feeling is genuine.
I like that. I like what you just said now. That you're saying to yourself that you're giving the person the permission to feel what they feel. And I know that death is an extreme case. There are some other cases that a lot of people don't know how to, feel. For instance, someone tells you that a young girl says, "Oh, I went to a guy's house. I went there uninvited because I really like him. So I went to his house, I knocked on the door, I went inside the house, and the guy asked me why I came, and I said, I came because I like you. And I went inside and I sat on his bed, and all of a sudden he started holding me and I held him back. And to cut the long story short, he was removing my clothes, and I told him, no, don't remove my clothes. I don't want to do this. And then eventually he raped me." Someone telling you that kind of story, the person also deserves, for your empathy. So for someone that has zero tolerance for nonsense or is very disciplined, how is that person supposed to empathize with this story?
Well, I think that brings us to this. I think I need to say this. It's not everybody has the ability to empathize with people.
Very true.
Empathy can be innate to an extent. Empathy learned over time due to experience.
Yes.
Like somebody who have experienced being raped and easily resonate with the person with this lady's pain.
But what if you've never been raped? How do you learn how to empathize with someone that is talking to you? Because whenever people are talking to you, they're actually seeking empathy.
Yeah, you learn empathy by connecting. That's why we always encourage facial connection, as in eye contact, and eye contact, holding hands, and trying to be present when you're listening. Most times people listen, but they're not really listening. They're not
present. They're not present in that situation, right? Okay, so what Pastor Doka is saying is, not everybody has the ability to empathize. And that is so true. But we all need to learn how to empathize. Because if you don't learn how to empathize, you will not be able to connect with people on a deep level. People are not going to feel safe around you because you lack the ability to empathize. I was talking to one of my professors, and I used the same scenario, and she said something that resonated with me. She said, if you say you don't empathize with somebody, who do you wish to be raped? Do you know what it feels like to be raped? That the person is not talking about the story leading to the rape. The person is talking about how they feel being raped. And so the other things connecting, leading to it, do not matter when empathy is involved. You're looking at how the person feels and not necessarily the story. I discovered that a lot of people in relationships are not able to connect because Pastor Doka, you said something that's very, very important. You said being present. A lot of people, when they are listening, they are thinking about their response. They're thinking about, so what should I do in this situation? How do I respond to this person? As opposed to just keeping your mouth shut and trying to connect to how they feel and suspend what you think. Because when you start thinking about the situation, that thought can hinder your ability to empathize with the person. There are other.
I think this.
Yeah, I'm listening. You were good.
I think we still need to emphasize the importance of cognitive empathy.
Yep.
Because most people, they have emotional empathy.
Okay.
A lot of people don't actually come to the place of cognitive empathy. And cognitive empathy is the ability for you to suspend what you think, what you believe, what you think. It's not the point, it's not a place for you to bring in your rights,
Yeah.
bring in what you feel the person should have done.
Yes.
You just have to understand, resonate with the person.
With the person and where they're coming from.
Yes. It's so important that if we're able to have that cognitive empathy, your emotional empathy will be real.
All right.
You will really feel what they feel. But if your cognitive empathy is not there, it's not that you would have issues with emotional empathy, but it's going to be a lot of struggle.
That's so true. Cognitive empathy.
That you see the scenario before you will be moved. But when you have cognitive empathy, you really don't need to see the scenario. You really don't need to see the act. The thought of it alone would bring you to feel what the person feels.
Very so true. So true.
Yes,
the cognitive empathy. Pastor Doka is talking about cognitive empathy as actually is defined here as the ability to understand and recognize the mental state and thoughts of the other person in spite of your own mental state or your thoughts. For instance, let's bring it home. A man comes back from work. He's so tired. The woman in the house is also tired. And then the man comes home and sits down in front of a TV and is trying to decompress with the TV. This naturally, irritates the woman. And she says something like, "Why are you watching TV? I've been working all day. Are you not going to help with the children?" And the man says something like, "I really had a hard time at work." At this point, it becomes difficult to empathize because the woman probably also have had a hard time with the baby. And this is one of the things that kind of cause a problem in a relationship. The lack of empathy, the lack of cognitive empathy to understand the mental state and thoughts of that person. You don't know what the person has gone through at work, or maybe you're used to hearing it, and because you're used to hearing it, you dismiss it. It means that you as a woman now lack empathy. And we know that these days, a lot of times, everybody uses the word narcissism, which is actually one of the symptoms is lack of empathy. is a narcissistic tendencies. I always say that most of the people who tell me, oh my God, the person I am married to is a narcissist, when they finish talking to me, I begin to also perceive a narcissistic tendency. With what? Because they tell me what the person said and how they ignored it because they want that person to understand them. And the same goes to a man. A woman wakes up in the morning, maybe a pregnant woman, and says something like, I wasn't able to sleep yesterday. And then the man just taps her and says, don't worry, you will soon give birth to the baby. What do you have to say about that?
That's totally not being there at all.
No, because it's just something that's natural, okay? You know, the woman is like dragging and says, oh my God, I was just tossing, back and forth yesterday. I was not able to sleep. Usually, I've heard this over and over, and the man looks at her and say, I'm not even talking to some men that will say, being pregnant should be natural. After all, every woman gets pregnant. Didn't you know that you will not be able to sleep? Which is a terrible thing to say. So if you saw a couple like that, whereby the man says, when I come back from work and I say I've had a hard time, she says, what about me? I've been with the kids all day. What are you talking about? What will you say to the woman? If the woman also now says, I'm pregnant and I'm still doing all the housework, he comes back from work, I expect that he should help me at least. He knows I did not sleep well yesterday, and all he tells me is everything will be fine. What will you tell this couple?
I think it's putting the first person that comes to their view, what they're going through, should be the first person to get attended to, regardless of what you're going through. Okay, trying to push and reject and not being empathic is putting them on the defensive mode. You want to first of all settle them, and so you get settled. But most couples don't understand the settle me first that came up with the bruise, and so they want to get settled. There's no how you will get settled when you've not settled what is on the table first. And so he comes back and he's not okay, or she's complaining that she's tired. It's not the time to tell her you soon give birth. She knows she will soon give birth. Every woman who is pregnant knows that at 9 months they will give birth. That's not what she's asking for at that time. Okay? It's just for you to tell her something, to validate, understand, and then put yourself in her shoes. It's not really too comfortable. And so she's going through that. She just wants you to support her emotionally. So it's good to understand where she's coming from, even if she's not voicing it verbatim and telling you, I want you to just cuddle and make me feel. It's someone who is cognitively empathic would understand what this woman needs at this time.
That's good. That's good. In their own shoes. But a lot of men will say, how do I put myself in the shoes of a pregnant woman? That's a bit hard, right? Sister Margaret, are you there?
Looking at her already shows that she's going through some uncomfortable. That's why we talk about watching people's body language. You watch their eyes, you watch their body language. It's voice enough to tell you what they go through, to put yourself in their shoes. So you really don't need to do anything serious to understand what people go through. If you look at them, if you have a good eye contact, you look at them, you're very observant about people's body language, it helps to develop emotional empathy. That's
How
what
do
what
people
when
know how to? Because sometimes I've heard people say, I understand and I feel it, but I don't know how to make them know that, I feel what they feel. How do you think, do you have a personal example of a time where somebody actually, you felt somebody empathizing with you?
that brings us to the compassionate empathy, where you take action, because you have the cognitive, you have the emotional, and the empathy,
Yeah,
the
compassionate
take
empathy.
action. Yeah, take action, because sometimes you have the cognitive empathy, your cognitive, your empathic cognitively, you understand, you have the emotional, whatever, but you don't take action. The summary of it all is to take action. And most times, the action that you want you to take is not to really do anything serious. They just want to know that somebody is there.
Yeah, so that you want to feel seen and you want to feel heard. Because I think that's something that is a little bit difficult for most people. They don't know how to make others feel seen and heard. If I say something, I went to the market and somebody was rude to me, I'm not expecting you to say, maybe you were really rude to them. Are you sure you were not rude? At that point, we talked about the cognitive empathy. What you think does not matter at that point. What matters is the person that is standing right before you and telling you they feel a certain kind of way because something happened. So the compassionate empathy, if I said, oh my God, I went out and I was, okay, let me use a personal example. 2 years ago, I was driving out of my office and somebody started shooting at my car. And they were shooting from behind, and the person overtook and came to the side and started shooting again, like this person has to die. It felt like a mission that has to be completed. I drove away, walked, to a place, and I called some people. I'm not going to tell you the different responses that I heard. So if I called you, Pastor Doka, and I said, you know what? Somebody was shooting me right now. I just escaped. What exactly would you say? And what would you do?
The first thing that will matter is, I want to know how you feel. Are you okay now? Are you in a safe place now? How do you feel? Are you good? Someone there with you? Then the next thing that would matter is, just know that I'm here for you. Is there anything I can do for you? What do you want? Is there anything you need now that would help you calm down and feel safe? So you are actually validating the person's state at that particular time. The person is actually going to be unstable, and so you're trying to tell the person that I understand if you're unstable, I understand if you don't feel safe, but that's not just where it's going to end. I'm trying to see if there's anything I can do to help you feel okay, feel safe, and just know that I'm here for you if you need someone.
Amazing. I mean, I got that from some people, which was really amazing. Some people immediately said, where are you now? I'm coming there. Where are you? Just sit down somewhere. A man that I've never met in my life ran into Walmart, went and bought a tape and bought a drink and said, you need to sit down now and have this drink. And I need to tape, the gun, the bullet holes in your car, because you cannot drive like this home. You're going to attract attention, to yourself. And some others said, oh my God, I can't even believe you were shot and you are not dead yet. That must be a miracle. Oh my God, it's so funny. It feels as if that's James Bond movie. And they went on and on and on. Some others were asking me, don't you have a gun? You know, when things like that happen, you need to have a gun in your, your glove box, so that, people were saying all manner of things. And whenever I think back on what happened at that time, it just shows me the reason people do not have good relationships. People are not able to connect to the emotions of people. They lack cognitive empathy. They lack affective empathy. They lack compassionate empathy. What you think at the time, just like Pastor Doka is saying, when somebody is saying something is wrong with them, what you think at that time or what they have done to you, prior to that time is not what matters. You want to listen, you want to understand them, and you want to show them you are there, that you are there. Somebody asked me as a counselor, how can I, empathize with people when it's obvious that most of the time what they are doing is as a result of, their foolishness or lack of judgment. You are still coming to help them with their judgment. But the first thing you need to do is to make them feel seen and heard. Seen and heard. Whenever you hear people say things like, I know you don't love me, what they're saying is, I don't feel seen and I don't feel heard. And an example, practical example is, whenever people are saying things to you, you want to know exactly how they are feeling and not what you think about how they are feeling, because you should never rationalize people's feelings and you should never explain away what they feel. It doesn't matter whether you believe what they feel or not, because you never can tell how people are feeling. It is their feeling and not yours. So you want to sit in with them and feel it with them and understand them and their mental state at that time. Valerie, hi. You want to know what you can do at that moment. You are not thinking about you. You're not thinking about what you have gone through, and you're not trying to overtake them in the conversation. You don't want to hijack it. Some people will say, oh my God, me too, and they start narrating their own story immediately. You want to sit down with that person. You want to make sure they feel heard and they feel seen. They feel heard and they feel seen. That will help relationships. That will help communication. So whenever people tell me we have a problem in our communication and they narrate to me, I always like to have scenarios and synopsis. So when they tell me, I just look and I always identify the lack of empathy, because one is saying something, the other says, what about me? What about me? Like the example I gave, a pregnant woman wakes up in the morning and says, I didn't sleep at all. That shows that she wants somebody to feel it, that I didn't sleep at all. You know what it means when you're sleep deprived? There is a reason for it. Yes. She can't help it. Yes. Nobody can help her in that situation. Yes. And she's not asking to be helped. She's asking to be seen. And she's asking to be helped. The husband comes back in the afternoon and is thinking about how hard his day has been. And he just, gets into the seat, takes the remote control, and begins to scroll, knowing that when he was leaving, his wife said, "I did not sleep today." Do you think he should do that? I understand he also deserves empathy, but he needs to remember who he left before he went to work. If he's really tired, he can still come and say, "I appreciate the fact that you have not slept. Is there anything I can do after I have decompressed?" And the woman should not say, "What do you mean by you want to decompress? I have been working all day." No. She needs to say, "I know that you must have had a very hard day. I can't even begin to imagine what you may have gone through. And I appreciate the fact that you will still come over to help because I'm really tired." And so when the two of them are understanding of their feelings and what they're going through, it helps so much to be able to, to see the other person or hear the person. Sometimes when you empathize, you may not need to use your words. Sometimes what the other person needs is probably a hug, a hand squeeze, or just to say, "I am here." If you need everything, as Pastor Duka said earlier on. Compassionate empathy is the feeling of concern and care for another person who is suffering, often leading to a desire to help. When you begin to think, "What can I do?" Not just saying it, but you actually feel it. You want to do something. It doesn't matter how little it is. If you're someone who never feels that way, something is basically wrong somewhere. You never have a feeling of, "What can I do? How can I alleviate this pain? How can I alleviate this anxiety?" Many a times when I see couples talking and one person is always saying, "I am leaving, I'm leaving, I'm leaving," and I recognize that it's an attachment style, it's an anxious attachment style where the person constantly feels they're going to be abandoned. And you hear the other person saying, "You've always said this. If you want to leave, you can leave." That means they don't really understand the meaning of, "I want to leave, I want to leave." How do you empathize in that kind of situation? When someone is always asking, for a divorce, or the person is always asking to break a relationship simply because they're anxious that they will be abandoned very soon. Who is there? Sister Margaret, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Pastor Ike.
Okay, so if you wanted to empathize with someone that is constantly saying, "I want to break the relationship, I want to break this relationship," or someone that is saying, "I want a divorce" all the time because they are feeling maybe, just maybe, this person is going to leave me very soon. Of course, the person in question does not know why they're saying it. And maybe they're saying it is also making them anxious. Because if somebody keeps telling you, I'm going to leave, but they're not leaving, you are probably preparing that you will leave first. Because they've been saying it so much. If these two people come to you, how would you resolve the issue?
I think I need to learn some more, but let me think. Now that you reveal that it's actually them revealing their insecurity.
No, most times they're not revealing their insecurity. When someone says, "I'm leaving," the person doesn't even know why they're always saying that.
They don't even know.
Usually, that's why therapy is fantastic, right? When people come and you hear what they're saying, we therapists will see beyond what is being spoken. We're connecting to their inner child. We're connecting to the emotions. We're connecting to their mental state. We're connecting to their background. We're connecting to their past stories. We're connecting to every information that they give. We're not looking at the stories. We're looking at why, the why. Why do they feel this way? And we're connecting to them. That's why it's difficult to be a therapist when you yourself do not know how to empathize. So you're constantly thinking, this, I want to leave, I want to leave. Both of them will come to say, I am not doing it again. I'm not doing this again. That is what you're going to get in therapy. I'm tired. I don't want to do this. Now, if you start saying, so why don't you want to do it? They're going to tell you all manner of stories. They're going to say, you know what? He did this yesterday, and then he did it last year, and then he did this before COVID, and he did this, even though they're still there, but they've always said, I'm going to leave, I'm tired. And then this time around, maybe the other person now says, you've said this so much, maybe we should just call it quits. That's what you're going to hear. It's up to you now to quickly find out what makes this person always want to say they're leaving. It's not necessarily the other person that is causing them to say that. There is something else inside of them that is insecure. It's your duty to figure that out.
Right.
And to now find out what to do to help them feel more secure. By first and foremost, you empathizing with them. Because it must be a very terrible state to always feel somebody is going to abandon you. It's not a place you want to be at all. And this is a difference between, therapy and probably counseling. Because it's not yet time to say, maybe this is what you should do. It's time to just sit in with them and ask, do you know why you are always wanting to leave? Have you been abandoned before? Are you thinking you're going to be abandoned again? Do you want to leave before you are left alone? So you want to go deeper than the stories that have been said on the surface.
Right.
Before you now, and that's where psychoeducation comes in. You now want to kind of educate them on maybe different attachment styles. And you want to know whether the anxious person is connecting with an avoidant person. Because if the other person is an avoidant person, someone that is always, in one corner and shutting down here and there, an anxious person will always wonder, why are you not talking to me? Why are you not talking to me? Why are you not here? Why are you on your phone? Because an avoidant person also has a style, which makes the anxious person very anxious. So, Pastor Doka, if these two people come to you, how will you approach it?
First, and that's where listening techniques comes in.
Listening technique.
You really want to listen to them. So you don't just jump into, you ask them questions and you listen to them talk.
Mm.
If every I want to leave or leave if you want to leave, there's always the little voice that is crying for attention to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, people just wake up and just say, I want to leave, especially people where I want to be with you, and all of a sudden they want to leave. Something is wrong somewhere. And so it's just like you said, that's something you want to know. And usually that something is always hidden in either the unconscious or the subconscious mind. They themselves may not even know. In fact, I would say very few really know the reason they're saying they want to
leave. Exactly. That I know. I'm sure about that. That a lot of people don't really know until you bring their attention to the fact that they want to leave. Talking about parents and children, you also find out that some children get into trouble in school because they are not heard and they're not seen. And parents don't, oftentimes don't know how to have empathy for a child that is not doing well, a child that is always getting into trouble. That child is constantly saying, see me, hear me. See me, hear me. And then they just go and get into trouble. And then you are called into the principal's office so many times. And it feels that this child just wants to bring shame to the family. Do you have any experience with that?
I think that I have a younger brother. Growing up was like a terror with him. He's always going out and coming back with a lot of issues. My dad was always going to the school then to settle issues. I'm sorry I'm saying things out here, but it was not a funny thing going on. And my dad didn't understand what was going on, and it took a while for my mom to really understand what was going on. He is a kind of person that really love attention. In the kind of family we had, my mom and my dad, they went always around, we went to boarding school, so it's always like that. And so he, in a bit to want to get attention, he goes out, and get in trouble. He's this kind of person that if you don't want to see me or know that I'm here, you would have to see me one way or the other. So he would intentionally cause trouble just to be seen and to be heard. And that kind of child, you don't just shun them and just punish them. You're really going to kill a very good personality.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you see children growing up with personality disorder. When you try to force a personality
on them,
to something it is naturally not, and you're doing it without having the skill to modify, it's really going to be a disaster. And so we have a lot of children like that growing up with personality issues because the parents really don't understand this. And so because they don't understand, when these children go into trouble or are accused of being in trouble, the parents don't actually empathize or try to understand, where the cognitive empathy and emotional empathy and compassion comes in. They really messes up with the child's emotions while growing up. And when the emotion is messed up at that particular stage, it affects the personality. So the child will now try to be what they are naturally not. And so
I think I've seen that before.
Very, very reserved.
Or defiant.
Yeah, but they become very aggressive.
Yes. So it's good for parents to know also. I know that a lot of us have a blueprint for our kids. We already know what we want from them. We want them to do this without considering who they are. We need to understand who they are. We need to, use questions and answer. If they say they want to do something, let's sit them down and ask them, so why do you want to do it? Tell me about it. What they need is a guidance. They need us, they need our inputs. And finally, this really came to my mind. Sometimes children, deviate from the values of parents. What you raise them to become, you suddenly start seeing them doing something different. And to you, they're trying to shame you because in the society or in your church or in your mosque or, temple, you already built a reputation. All of a sudden, a child begins to do something contrary to your personal values. This is where empathy is needed. You cannot control that child. What you need to do is to understand the child. You have to understand the child. The child needs to know that your love is not conditional. Your love is not conditional. Whatever happens, you will still be there for your child. That helps them to give your values, some consideration. But if you say by force, you need to change this area, you need to do this, you know what, in our family, this is what happens, that child, like Pastor Doka said, is bound to begin to, have some personality issues. Please, parents, let's learn what this empathy is. What we do in the MMM conference is to help you to be able, to apply certain principles to making your life and your relationship better. It is MMM conference. We talk about your mental health, we motivate you, and we talk about marriage and relationship. Empathy is needed. Please go and do more research. And I always say to people, it's difficult to empathize with people if you're not in the spirit. So you need to learn to pray and ask God, please help me feel. The Bible says Jesus, who was tempted in all ways, is a high priest because he feels our infirmities. He feels our pain. He will never be a high priest if he did not have empathy. Having empathy doesn't mean you don't have personal values. You still have your value. We're talking about in relationship with people. Don't impose your values on them, especially when they need you to hear them and see them. There will always be a time for those your lectures. Can you keep those lectures whenever they are going through a hard time? Listen for it. When people are talking to you, listen for the areas they need empathy. Listen for when they want to be seen and when they want to be heard and when they want to be hugged and when they want to be touched. Listen to it. Don't talk over them. Let them say whatever they have to say. Don't hijack it. Don't try to tell them you also feel the same way. Then you may become the very thing that you don't like, and that is being a narcissist. You don't want to make it about yourself. Please, let's learn to listen to other people, and our relationships will do better. I want to say thank you, Pastor Doka here, and Mr. Margaret, thank you for coming. Everyone on YouTube, thank you very much. Valerie, Lohan, thank you so much. Thank for those on Instagram, on Facebook. I wish I could call everybody's names, but I want to say thank you. I want to use this opportunity also to tell us that we're going to be doing a kind of school of marriage and family therapy. We're going to be doing that during a 40-day fast. That is May through June. Every weekend we're going to be doing it weekends. We're going to be doing it like that. We're going to be taking topics, and we're going to be trying to train people on how to be a counselor, because there are people around you. There's some people that will say, I don't want to go for therapy, even though deep down your heart that they need to talk to somebody. It's good for you as an individual to be equipped as well. You know how to talk to people, like what we just did today. You understand empathy, and you understand there's certain models of therapy. Solution focus, the Bowenian therapy, a little bit of CBT, something you can use as a tool in your back pocket to help other people. Also, throughout the leadership training, Mondays through Friday, throughout the fasting, May 1st to June 9, we're going to be doing spiritual leadership training. So the weekends will just be for therapy, but the spiritual training will be Mondays through Friday, twice every day, 5 a.m. Central Time, which is 11 a.m. West African Time, and also 12 p.m. Central Time, which will be 6 p.m. West African Time. all through the fasting season, Mondays through Friday. So we're going to be topical. We're going to be taking topics and, using the word of God to teach how to be a good leader, starting from your own personal discipline to helping other people to be disciplined. If you want to know more about this, please, you can always WhatsApp 832-671-2022. Our fasting season is going to be easier this time. It's going to be 7 p.m. to 12 p.m. Usually we used to do 8 p.m. to 4 p.m. But now 7 p.m. all pantry must close down, and then you don't eat until 12 p.m. the next day, and then you eat up until 6 p.m. and then 7 p.m. again, you close your pantry. That's what we do. But all through the 40-day fast, please, no alcohol, no caffeine, so you can always go get decaffeinated coffee. Please, soda, you can't take soda because there is caffeine in it as well. And so we just want you to be healthy, want to lay down every weight that easily besets us, physical and spiritual weight as well, and no animal product. So begin to prep right now. No turkey, no chicken, no dairies, no everything called animal aid. There's one that we give exceptions to, and that is fish. You can take your fish and vegetables, so that, because I know some people cannot eat without something leaving on their plate, so that you can fully concentrate on the prayer time. Also, please remember that when you fast without praying, you're simply on a hunger strike. Always pray for me, please. I need you to pray for me. I need it so much. It's always going to be, it's always a challenging time. I just want you to pray for me that God will keep me, keep my family in the path of righteousness for his name's sake, all through that season, that God will strengthen me. As I pray for you as well, that the Lord will strengthen you. Please, if you know someone that is battling with addiction and they want to also grow spiritually, please extend the invitation to them. Also, we'll be doing Holy Ghost baptism and water baptism when we're rounding up the fast. June 7 and June 8 is going to be Holy Ghost baptism and water baptism. If you're also interested, please, you can email justflaky1@gmail.com, or you can WhatsApp 832-671-2022. I can't wait for that season, because it's going to be a new season for you, the beginning of beginnings. I love you so much, and I will see you. Of course, next month we're not going to be having MMM, because it's going to be teaching galore all through the month, and then we'll resume again in the month of July. God bless you. Thank you so much, the Margaret. Thank you, Pastor Doka. And I'll see you very soon. Remember, we pray and we read the Bible every morning, Mondays through Friday, 5 a.m. Central Time, the same Zoom link. You want to finish the whole Bible, please join us Mondays through Friday, 5 a.m. Central Time. I'll always be there to read the Bible with you. God bless you. Bye, Sister Margaret.
God bless you. Bye.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining.